was certainly a callous undervaluation of the lives of some citizens. The policy under Kim Jong-il was Song Good, or military first. Those who were considered important to the state and its defense might live. Others were on their own. A low estimate for the number of deaths in the North Korean famine of the 1990s is 240,000, but it may have been.
We're gonna be on here for a little bit of fun. Nothing.
You know, heck with that.
You will never. Car. Wait, what the?
So you had to have hydraulic pumps, all of this extra circuitry, all of this added weight to make the car work. As all my stories begin, I'm sort of the purveyor of weird, obscure cars. I've got people reaching out to me all the time, et cetera, et cetera. I had an email a couple of years ago from a guy. I think the subject line was out of production cars or something like that. Something innocuous. And in the body of the email, it said, I have these 3 codes.
I don't know what that noise was.
It's an electric car that was built in California off the body of some lowest bidder Chinese car. It looks so blank. It looks like sort of the Grand Theft Auto version of the Kia Spectra, or maybe like a Hyundai Elantra, or a Suzuki Liana, Verona, one of those cars. It looks like a generic Asian-styled curvy car from the mid-2000s. Anyway, they started an electric car company. In 2012 is when they actually started selling these cars, and that lasted a year before they went out of business. The company was just racking up debt left and right. They had no real good business plan. There were some hostile takeovers that they did, and then the motor supplier also did hostile takebacks of the motors and stuff. Like they raided the factory and took motors away. Anyway, Koda was a short-lived car company that produced a very mediocre product. Overall, they say they sold 115 Kodas. The first Kodas, they have this really aspirational plaque in them that say number whatever of 500, and eventually they realized that wasn't going to work, and they stopped putting these plaques in the car. But they only ended up selling 117 before the company went out of business, and this guy had 3 of them. He had 3 of them because he was an ex-employee of Koda. He was a battery engineer. So these cars had lithium iron phosphate battery packs. They're 30 kilowatt hours. They claimed 125 miles. The EPA says no, it's 88 miles. But realistically, you don't want to go 88 miles. You're going to be stranded somewhere. Didn't have any DC fast charging capability, so you're on a leash from home. It's an early electric car in 2012. Don't really need to say any more than that. Anyway, he had 3 of them. 2 of them were prototype cars. At one point, all 3 of them were prototype cars. There was a company called DDI that, because they were cheap, because the company went out of business, had bought several Kodas and was using them as development cars for these electric conversion kits that were commissioned by a Chinese research institute. The thing they commissioned was an electric car with a CPU. Now, I don't know why they wanted such a thing, but, if someone...
It's 8 o'clock, so we're going to be on for a little bit. So, yeah.
And developing the kit is So that's what they were developing with these cars. So they took out the stock single gear gearbox, which was a Ford Warner unit, and the wonderful 100 kilowatt UQM motor and controller, and they swapped it out with a nice inverter from Cimarron and a really cheap Jinjing motor that made less power. So instead of 100 kilowatts, which is 134 horsepower, it made 80 kilowatts. So about 110 horsepower. Sure, way less torque, because that UQM pumpkin of a motor puts out 220 pound-feet of torque. This Jinjing thing was way smaller, so I imagined its torque figure was like 100, 150 pound-feet, if that. And then they coupled it to a CVT. So the thing about CVTs is, if you have them in an internal combustion vehicle, that's fine, because they're hydraulically controlled. They have hydraulic pumps that are driven off of the engine that do all of the coupling shifting and CVT actuations. But if you put that in an electric car, you have to have something else to power the hydraulics in the CVT. So they put hydraulic pumps in there. Each one of these hydraulic pumps, there were 2 or 3 of them, were like this big. And what were they driven by? Well, they were driven by separate motor controllers that they mounted in the trunk. There was this big, and I still have 3 of them, there's this big control box in the trunk that has the motor controllers, 2 of them, for these hydraulic pumps, these big things in the front, and DC to DC converters to drive those motor controllers. So the battery setup in this car, like all electric cars, you've got the high voltage pack, and you've got the 12-volt battery for all the ancillary headlights and things. This car had both of those things. But in addition to that, it had the DC to DC converter that stepped down the 333 volts from the traction battery to 12 volts for the ancillary system. But it also had, for these hydraulic pumps, another DC to DC converter that stepped that 12 volts up to 48 volts to drive these hydraulic pumps. So all of this effort was just to put a CVT in an electric car. So you had to have hydraulic
There you go.
pumps, all of this extra circuitry, all this other way to make the car work. This prototype did not go anywhere. They were developing
There we go.
kits, which is why they swapped out the motors for a cheaper unit so that they could make them more profitable. But apparently, the Chinese Research Institute pulled out and never even paid for these things. So they.
Okay. Got your packed lunch. Treats from the vending machine on me. And this.
So they had several of them, and this guy who used to work for Coda had 3 of them. And at one point, he got, I guess, really ambitious and converted one of them back to stock. So he took all of this prototype garbage, the rat's nest wiring, the box out of the back with all the hydraulic pump controllers and everything, took all that garbage out and put back in the original Ford Warner e-gear drive and the UQM motor and controller. And the knowledge he must have had to do all this, because the car, I'm happy it works. All the wiring he had to redo. He had to plug all the wiring back into the harnesses. He had to have intimate knowledge of the car to do this. If I would have attempted it, I would have set it on fire and claimed insurance. It's just a nightmare, but he did that. And then they were just taking up space in his driveway, so he was going to take it to a scrapyard, and he just emailed me because I was in the weird car. I got a Wigo that you want, and I seem to be really into electric car things. So he emailed me, and I said, yes, I want them. He gave them to me for free. I drove to California. I borrowed a truck and trailer, drove to California, picked up 2 of them, brought them back, and then a couple months later, I drove out to California again to pick up the remaining 3rd one in another car, and I brought them back to my shop. I made a series of videos getting the one that was converted back to stock, back to roadworthy standards, which wasn't a heck of a lot of work. Most of it was just because it had been sitting for so long. It had 4 very flat tires. The Chinese-made body was, not that all Chinese-made things are crap, but this thing definitely was. The Chinese-made body was falling apart all over the place. Apparently, the trunk poppers break in every single Coda. So I had to make a new one of my own using a little solar.
Hey guys, what's up, guys? Hey guys, it's killing some time. See how you guys are doing right now. So what's up? We're on my computer right now. The tablet and phone are both dead. So what's up?
can never be driven again. The module controls something. I don't remember what. There's pieces of the componentry missing. So they can never
Only
be
one number from that, but that's not bad. I'm actually one off. That's not bad. So yeah, he's gonna be on for a little bit. Yeah.
Registered. And the other one had no bill. It was never sold or used in any capacity, but it was taken from auto show to auto show. And you can tell that there's some interesting remnants on it because it used to be white, but it's blue now. So they skin coated the whole thing in Bondo. I've taken a knife to the paint. It's just a real thick layer of Bondo over the whole freaking car. And it's blue now because instead of taking a different car to auto shows, they just repainted the same car. I could be tinfoil hat and say it's to make it look like they had more inventory than they did, but I think it was because they wanted a different looking car.
My phone's flat. My tablet's flat. So
It's also got electric car stickers all over it. They're ridiculous because this thing is sort of a joke. Oh, you go 70 miles one way, so you can only go 30 miles away from home, and then you have to come back again. Anyway, so I have all those cars. I fixed up the Coda, the one Coda. It works. I made it roadworthy again. I drove it around for quite a while, and then the CD shaft started cleaning a year ago. Then I just parked it, and a couple of months ago, I decided I'm going to work on this car. I want to drive it again. I miss my Coda, even though it's like driving around a silent Corolla. It's not very well made, and it's not very high quality. And in the process of doing that, I got all the little things to work, like the rear windows finally roll up and down smoothly, the speedometer works again, and then I broke the motor mounts off of the e-gear drive. There were only 3 bolts holding it in, and now there's only 1. So I can't drive it around. Probably when I go back home, I'll have to work on that, which will be real fun, because that's the one thing I don't have any spare parts for is that e-gear drive. I have 2 cars that are my parts cards, and these stupid prototype drivetrains in them. So the Coda, the one working Coda, still doesn't, and I've got 3 of them.
Premier Financial Services makes it easier and more affordable than you could possibly imagine to own your dream car. Their Simple Lease is one of the most powerful tools in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits like the tax savings and the low payments of a lease with all the additional benefits that you normally find in a traditional finance arrangement. You can build up equity, you can
grow out more.
You can trade in and out of the car because you get a very clear and easy to understand amortization table to understand what your payoff will be any month throughout your term. And all the while, the amazing team from Premier Financial Services will be right there to help you along the way. They've been supporters of the Ben Wiki channel now for 5 years in a row. So we can't thank them enough for that, but mostly we're thankful for the fact that they can help you make it easier than ever to own your dream car. Check them out now. Michigan residents get 1,000 lease cash. GM employee program participants with a current eligible GMC lease use it to get this low mileage lease from the Sierra Elevation for $239 per month. And make you change your mind. Girl, will you ever be mine?
I finally fixed the Coda. It was quite a bit more broken than I thought it was, and I mean physically broken. But then I fixed it. And to repay me, it immediately broke again. This is the future. To find out what I'm talking about, let's go to the past. The last time I worked on this thing, I tried to fix as many of the broken bits around the car as I could. And I got most of them fixed, but then somehow managed to break all but 2 of the mounts that hold the gearbox and motor in place. So now I gotta fix those, which means dropping the motor and the gearbox out of the car. And I'm not looking forward to it. For safety, I need to isolate this car from high voltage, which means undoing this high voltage clamp. And you'll notice that it's being held down to the front power distribution box with a zip tie. I'm to blame for that. Because this piece of crap plastic broke. Because I broke it. I'm trying to blame the car for things that are really my fault. Before I can think about dropping the motor, I have to disconnect it from the inverter, this whole box right here. And it's connected to the inverter via this ground cable, this signal harness here, and the big 3-phase high voltage cables here that go into this box. And there we go, three-phase connections ready to be unbolted. Quick overview, high voltage comes from the battery pack through this connector here into the front power distribution box. Then it goes to the PTC, it's actually labeled on this one. Goes to the PTC heater, that's just a resistive water heater. Goes to the AC compressor, and this goes to the inverter right here. And it goes into the inverter, and the pixies get danced around and get converted into three-phase AC and come out here to the motor. This is where I need to disconnect.
What are you doing? Chores, Ruby. You know, as a veteran, you earn USAA membership for your family. For you? No. So close. USAA.
When you buy a power tool, you need it to last. As for durability and performance, there's no better value than Hercules brushless. Engineered and tested to meet the needs of the toughest job sites, again and again. Upgrade to Hercules today.
Here's something I'm not looking forward to. All of it. But more specifically, I have to disconnect the coolant lines that are on the top of the motor, right underneath the engine. I'm probably going to get a little wet from coolant in this process. Oh no! There we go. There's one. This is fine. I got the coolant out as well. As far as I'm aware, this is the last thing to disconnect before it's going to the
Hey, what's up?
on the gearbox. Shouldn't be anything else left. Unless there's a speed sensor on the gearbox, so that'd be silly since they can just use the speed of the normal speed. I gotta put a stopper.
I cover my ass.
So the coolant line going into the motor, so the coolant won't spill out of it. And now I'm going to drain the gearbox, so I have as little mess as possible. And for my next trick, I'm going to use a laminated stack of bolted birch as a motor support. I discovered a top motor mount. Oh my god, it wasn't just 3 bolts. This thing was actually being held in place by a motor mount on the side. No fault. There we go. I wasn't prepared for what I found in here. First of all, good news. If you can call it that, it's more like benign news. I was wrong. At the beginning, I said this whole unit was being held in by 1 bolt right over here on the gearbox side. And that wasn't true because there was a whole other mount on the motor side over here that I couldn't see. It was being held in by 3 bolts. Now that's where the benign news ends. So let me bring you in for a closer look for the bad news. Say hello to the BorgWarner eGear Drive single-speed gear reduction box. This is the parking lock actuator. This is the 1 bolt that was holding it in place on the gearbox side. It holds pretty chewed up, but it's still holding. This didn't hold.
Hold back a second.
Created a window in the gearbox, and this just broke off. I'm going to have to try to figure out some way to fix those, but it looks like cast aluminum, so that might be difficult. Now for the other side, say hello to the UQM Power Phase 100 permanent magnet electric motor. This is the motor mount that I didn't see when it was in the car. This is connected to a big old rubbery motor mount that sits right next to the shock tower. But on the other side, this tube mounted to the top of the motor ends in what looks like a fracture line. Because it is. That's the other side of that broken mount bar. This tube goes over to this arm right here, which is where the gearbox mounts in place. This is all on a rubber assembly. It attaches right here with this bushing, and a bushing right over there on the other side of the car, and that sits on this subframe cross brake. All of those pieces make up the motor and gearbox mount. How this broke, I'll never know. My guess is that these gearbox side mount bolts were loose, like they were when I found them.
Okay, guys, I'm back.
Gearbox side of this separate assembly to flex independently from the
Okay, I don't know what happened, but
right here, and this broke, and once this broke, the gearbox side
okay, guys, what's up?
they don't have enough strength on their own, so they broke off. Here's how the motor mount assembly is supposed to be assembled. It's broken right here. Luckily, there were actually 2 mounting points on the side of this gearbox that are still intact. One of them just didn't have a bolt in it. There are the other 2 that are broken off, but I still have 2 good ones. This will be easy enough to repair. This is just steel. I can weld it back together. I'll grind a little bit thinner back in there so I can get a good filler between the 2, and then I'll add bracing. This, however, this repair is going to be a little more tricky. And by that I mean a lot more tricky, so I'll come back to that later. First, let's tackle Okay.
I'm gonna roll these brake plates on here. It's probably overkill, but that's the best kind of kill. Good news, I figured I had 50 down. I cast aluminum, so I could weld it, so I just epoxied them out back in the plate. That should hold. Yes, obviously I'm joking. The other reason I epoxied that back in place at all is to plug the window in the gearbox. What I'm actually gonna do about the gearbox mounts is this.
Wow.
Sound the gearbox right about here. So I'm gonna weld on some spacers here in the form of these washers that I ground the zinc off of. Before I continue on this, I should make sure the CV shaft clears, and hell yeah, that's nowhere near it. No worries there. Hi, I'm an idiot. Did you notice what I did wrong here? I just removed this whole motor brace assembly, take it off, and finish welding it.
Hey guys, I fixed the chat, so the chat should be working now.
I put that extension arm on and captured it in place so I could no longer remove this brace. Now, if I would have realized that this was a problem beforehand, I would have bolted on this extension arm instead of welding it. But I didn't. Cows on today,
What's wrong, baby?
We like to keep the temperature set to a cool 37 degrees.
That's the same temperature these English muffins are kept in the dairy case at the grocery store. They're chilled for freshness.
When it's gotta be delicious,
It's gotta be Dave's English muffins. Find us
What?
chilled in the dairy case.
What? What's wrong, baby, huh? What's wrong, baby, huh?
Soviet Union. It's 1978 and things are going great.
Go to bed soon. We'll come back on here in 2 minutes when I get off and go to bed. Okay, we're gonna get off now, guys.